We're going now?
We're going.
Going.
Yeah. Well, Nsima's looking up penis stats on his phone.
Yeah. So Congo is number 1 at 7.1 on average. Ecuador, 6.9. Ghana, 6.8. Colombia, 6.7. Venezuela, 6.7.
This is flaccid, by the way.
Out of 80 countries, the UK ranks a slightly below average 54th.
Oh,
Yeah. So,
sadness.
yeah.
Well, the most important 1% I have.
You have
Yeah.
Congo.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's hilarious. 23 and me. Everyone's like, Congo, please give me Congo.
Everybody's super excited when it shows up and super disappointed when it doesn't.
Oh, man. That's so crazy. It's so sick how they can do that genetic testing, though. I mean, on a side note, like how they can just like tell everything of where you're from. Hopefully it's legit.
From an evolutionary standpoint, like for Caucasians, it's just like, we don't really need that big of a dick anymore. So we're just gonna shorten it up. How did evolution make this decision and why? It's a fucking cruel joke.
Oh man, well, you guys are from cold places,
Yeah, that's true.
right?
Yeah, maybe.
So
Yeah, maybe we can use that as an excuse.
Yeah.
the sun just makes everything hang out.
And then on that chart that you were looking at, are Asian people even on there at all? There's just question marks on there. It doesn't say anything.
I need to look at a bigger chart. That's all.
Oh,
I just
man.
need to look at a longer list.
I don't know how you found this information, but you're an amazing researcher for us, so I appreciate it, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's what I do here.
Somebody's got to do it.
He's going to be like, and the biggest biceps come from Nigeria, too. Wow, would you look at that?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, look at some of our Nigerian bodybuilders.
Was the guy that just broke the marathon record, was he Nigerian?
Nah,
Is he? I mean,
he's African for
African,
sure,
yeah.
but he's
Yeah.
not Nigerian.
Kenyan.
Is he? Is he Kenyan?
I think he's from Kenya. Yeah,
I
That
wouldn't
makes
be-
sense.
I think
Yeah.
that's where all those studs are from.
Yeah, I
from
think
Kenya.
so too.
Unbelievable. Under 2 hours for a marathon.
But they're not going to count it as it's going to be
It
like
takes shits longer than that.
yeah. There since he had
Yeah. Whatever, when you add up all the time throughout the day, for
Yeah,
sure.
See?
oh man. But
Cumulative?
I
did
can't
you guys
say that word.
Did you guys see any clips of it? The run?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't.
So he had a bunch of like other top marathon runners like running with him in different parts of the race to keep him on pace for 2 hours because he's actually run a legitimate 2 hour and 20-second marathon.
Is that why this is like an unofficial world record? Because they were
Yeah.
talking about how it was kind of like designed for him to be able to like break this record.
Yeah, apparently Nike's been working on this kind of project to break the 2 hour barrier since 2017. And they've been working like primarily with him and other top runners to see who could do it. And he was always the closest. So yeah, like throughout the race, he had a bunch of pace runners that were also top level runners running at pace in front of him. So it's like he had a pace line that he had to keep with so that by the end he could be at 2
And then
hours.
probably in like a traditional race, you don't have that.
Yeah. Oh, hell no. Yeah.
So
But-
otherwise he would probably just be like super like way far ahead of a lot of people. So that way he would probably ease up because he's just trying to win, right?
Mhm.
Exactly. So
I think there was a year where in the 100 meter where people went sub 9 seconds, and so there was sub 10 seconds. My bad. Sub 10 seconds. So the 10-second mark was there for a long time, but when they broke 9 seconds, guess how many other athletes broke 9 seconds?
a lot. I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
4.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 out of like 6 or 8, however many race in the 100 meter. I think it's just 6. So there's only 2 other guys in the race, I think, that didn't break it.
Mhm.
So it's like, yeah, you're gonna go as hard as the guy next to you. It's pretty interesting, pretty amazing when you think about things like that. Speaking of all that, we're trying to build a good culture here at Super Training Gym, and we're always trying to push each other as hard as we possibly can. But there's other places where they do that too, and that's my boy Jesse Burdick up at CSA, Combat Sports Academy. Jesse Burdick has a whole lineup of awesome lifters, and we had a seminar here at Super Training this past weekend. We call it a Second Saturday seminar, and it was awesome, man. It was a lot of fun, and Jesse's like he's my BFF, my big fat friend. I always call him, and I've known him for 20 years. But I every single time he gets up in front of people and talks, I like forget how good of a teacher he is. he's unbelievable. He
Yeah.
was really doing a good job making people understood the material. But they have a lot of really strong men and women up there. Jeremy Avila is someone we're always just completely baffled by. An 887-pound deadlift. Sarah, I always forget her last name, and I shouldn't, but she deadlifted at 622, I think.
Her hamstrings were crazy when she was sitting
she's
down.
so strong.
Yeah.
And then there's Tiny Tiff, who like can fit in your hand. You know, you can fit on the palm of your hand, and she's incredibly strong. You know, squatting over 300 pounds and deadlifting over 300 pounds, and she's just maybe more like 400 pounds.
At 97 pounds.
Yeah, she's just. I think she did 3 point something times her body weight. I don't even know.
Sarah Schiff.
There we go.
Mm.
Yeah, so he's got a great group of people up there, and something that I've always held from Louis Simmons, a quote that he shared with me, was this kind of idea that if you walk with the lame, you'll develop a limp, and you got to have really, really strong, like-minded people around you that have similar goals. That will help elevate your game. I'm sure that's happening at jiu-jitsu, and that's even why every once in a while, maybe you go to another jiu-jitsu academy to roll with some other people just to get that different vibe and to see the intensity and to see how they work. And then you get back to, you know, being around some of your guys. You even mentioned, like, specifically, there's like a few people that you're pumped when they're there because you know you're going to have a better workout, right?
Oh yeah, of course. You know who's going to push you, you know what I mean? Like, especially with jiu-jitsu, you can like, it's one of those things, since you're going against another person, there's certain people you roll with that you know you can't, you're not going to roll at 100% with, you know, you're going to bring it down because you want to, like, you got to slow down for them. But there are certain people who you're going to push, they're going to push, you're going to push, they're going to push, and you push each other to another level every single time you train. And those are always, like, obviously the best rolls. But I feel like you need that around you, you know, if you're going to progress. I don't know, like, there are probably some people, like, I wonder sometimes how, you know, some of the top competitors that maybe they don't have someone who's at their level at their school, how they continue to get better. Because there are a few of those, you know, there are a few of those out there.
There's some powerlifters we see that just train by themselves.
Yeah, Bryce Lewis.
Completely by themselves. Mike Tashir years ago used to just go in his basement and total 2,100 pounds by himself.
God.
Raw. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
He'd be down there and he would, you know, squat like mid sevens, and then he would bench close to 5, and then he would pull 800 pounds.
Jeez.
Yeah, he was the one that have like his own mock meets, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a insane,
That's
what a
crazy.
freak. No music.
Uh-huh.
Like, you talk about a lunatic. Talk about somebody that might burn your house down. That guy's got to have some really crazy thoughts going on in his head. At least that's what you would assume. But maybe he's just thinking about his technique.
Yeah, this is one of those sports that you can make it happen, though, since it is, like, in
Right.
most ways, it's an individual sport.
Yeah, you don't need other people to like play with, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, you could simulate the real thing, right? Like in basketball, you can't play with everybody else. Baseball, you definitely can't.
Yeah.
You can practice, but you can't actually simulate the real thing,
Mhm.
which is dope.
So you guys know that I'm moving, and like one of the issues with moving was like what the hell to do with a lot of like my supplements. And then like I was really concerned about my meat. I was really concerned about my Piedmontese meat because
Right.
Andy was like, "Oh, we'll just bring it all up to the gym." And I was like, "We can't do that. We can't let everybody have. We can't have everybody have this meat. This meat's too good." And we did bring some of it up here for some of the guys and girls to enjoy. But I was like, "Man, we gotta get it over to the other freezer as quick
As quick as
as
possible.
quick as we can, even if I need to drive my ass over there for it."
Yeah, the family's been huge fans of the sliders. I've been throwing those on the grill and the smoker.
Mhm.
I tried even taking one apart and like shoving like cheddar cheese in the middle.
Ooh.
It was okay. It didn't work out
They
fantastically.
sometimes do that with sometimes they do that with like cheese. They stuff it inside of a burger. It's kind of hard to do. But
Yeah, I learned that I can't figure it out. It's like not as simple as like A plus B equals C. It's like you have to figure stuff out, and I don't know how to do it
there's
yet.
a lot of math.
Maybe you need to melt it, put it in a syringe, and inject it into the meat.
I don't do syringes, bro.
Mhm.
You
You need to
No.
carry the one. Maybe that's what you forgot to
I
do.
could never carry the one. I always
Yeah.
forget. I never show my work. I just Google it, and then I get in trouble for just getting the answer.
I'm trying to use a cheat code.
I still get it wrong.
It happens.
Yeah.
I've been enjoying those ribeyes still,
Mhm.
and enjoying the fillets. And Piedmontese been good to me, and hopefully they can be good for you guys. Andrew, how can they get a deal? How can they get hooked up?
Well, if they're smart enough, they can carry the one, and Piedmontese will be there to help you out. Head over to Piedmontese.com. That's PIEDMONTESE.com. At checkout, enter promo code Power Project. and that'll get you 25% off your entire order. And if it's $99 or more, you get free 2-day shipping.
Mhm.
Yeah.
A lot of times when people go on a ketogenic diet, a lot of times they feel like crap and they feel like they got no treats in their life and they get miserable and they get sad. But Perfect Keto has your back. They have really good, they got really good bars. They got really good tasting collagen protein, a really good whey protein that I think all you guys will enjoy. And then on top of that, you know, a lot of times people feel like crap because they're getting dehydrated, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those electrolytes are really, really good. I love those because especially, you know, I fast a lot. So I need to be able to have those between, you know, lifting or jujitsu. So those are pretty damn awesome.
Simple. How can they get hooked up with some Perfect Keto products, Andrew?
They can head over to perfectketo.com/powerproject. When you guys go to that link, you'll see some of our favorites, and we've talked about all the time the Perfect Keto Nootropic. I am completely out of it because my fiance and I keep killing it every single day. So I got to order up some more of that. So anyways, head over to perfectketo.com/powerproject. At checkout, enter promo code PowerProject, and that'll get you 15% off all Perfect Keto products.
Because we're moving, I don't know where anything is at the moment. And so my daughter this morning, she's like, "Oh my God, I forgot to pack my lunch." She's like, "Can you help me?" And I'm like, "No, I'm trying to get myself organized to like get out of the house too." She just makes this sad face and she's like, "I'll just bring a bunch of these chips." And she grabs a bunch of Quest chips and stuffs them in her bag. I was like, I guess that's going to be the way it is for today.
Moving is tough.
Yeah.
I do feel like there is some aspect of it that's kind of cool, or like you are almost like camping. Like you're like, I wouldn't normally eat dinner out of like a plastic bowl or whatever, but like, but since we're moving, you know, I can't get out the good dishes and whatnot.
Yeah, you're all confused on where everything is. Luckily, Andy's, you know, super organized, so she's been on top of all that. But it's just like this one day, you know. And then this morning, I was trying to find some socks. And she's like, "Don't look in that." She goes, "Don't look in that." She goes, "Don't look in that bucket." She's like, "That's all mismatched socks." And I was like, "I can figure it out." So right now I'm actually wearing one black sock and one green sock because I was like, I can at least match up the types. It'll be the same. Might be some different colors.
Amazing.
Anyway,
Don't
with
look in there.
my life in some disarray, I'm still able to reach for some Quest bars and some of the other Quest products we have around the house. Been eating some of that Quest pizza and all that good stuff. So how can they get hooked up with some Quest products, Andrew?
You guys can head over to questnutrition.com. At checkout, enter promo code MarksQuest for 20% off. And I highly recommend you do it on the Quest chips. A listener of the show hit me up and said that they tried the, I think it's like chili lime or something like that.
Hey.
And he's like, "Dude, these are insane." I'm like, I told you guys, even though I to be honest, I haven't had that flavor yet, but I'm sure it's amazing because I've had all the other ones. So that's where I would go with that 20% off code is straight to the chips.
Cool.
Yeah.
Damn, my Jets finally got a win. They played the Cowboys, and the
Nice.
Cowboys have been good as of late, and the Jets were able to beat them. They have their starting quarterback back in the lineup, and they actually looked like a professional team. They looked better than a Division III football team, which
That's
is
good.
probably the first time all year that they're able to do that.
JETS, 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 Jets.
So this is just loyalty here, right? Like
That's all it is.
It is? Okay.
Yeah, I've been a fan, you know, since I was a kid, and you know, they you know, unfortunately they've really never been good. But like when I was a kid, they at least scored a lot of points.
Yeah.
That's what they were known for. They were able to put up a lot of points. Actually, their quarterback actually is a graduate of UC Davis.
Oh,
and
wow.
I didn't know
you
that.
guys will find this interesting. He was drafted. So in 1987 is the most prolific draft year in the history of football because John Elway went in that draft and Dan Marino. And I might be like speaking like a little bit off on a couple people. But anyway, there was some really highly touted quarterbacks that later went on to like play in Super Bowls, win Super Bowls, be Hall of Famers. And Ken O'Brien from the University of Davis was selected over everyone else. He was the #1 draft pick overall in the entire draft. Wow. He was such a beast. And he played great for the Jets, but because the Jets are the Jets, they like kind of screw up everything all the time.
Oh, man.
He threw for a lot of yards and threw a lot of touchdowns, but he also got sacked a lot. And he just he threw a lot of interceptions and stuff like that too. But every time when I was a kid and I watched the Jets, I mean, you could be sure they would score like 4 or 5 touchdowns every game, which in pro football, it's more common to maybe just have like 2 or 3, maybe, you know. So it was pretty cool to watch them growing up. They were an exciting team, and they would always be at least close in the kind of bigger games. And the I don't know why that happens, you know, when you're a kid, but like the Giants were good, and I could have easily just hopped on that wagon and been a Giants fan because they actually won and they like won Super Bowls and stuff. But you can't be both for some reason when you live in a certain town. Like I was Yankees and Jets. And even when the Mets did well and stuff, I was never a Mets fan. It's weird. And I guess here in California, it's the same thing. You got to pick a California team. You can't have 4 or 5 of them going for you at once, right?
And that's odd. I was gonna say because normally isn't it Jets, Mets, Giants, Yankees, right?
Yeah.
Because they're like the Jay-Z to the Jets is Nas. Like like the flashier, like high profile people like the New York Jets or Giants and the Yankees. But here in California, you can't be a Giants fan and an A's fan. You can't be a Niners fan and a Raiders fan.
Niners fan and Raiders fan, there's definitely, I mean, if you go to a Niners game with a Raiders jacket, people lose their mind, or vice versa, right? Like you might even get beat up going to a Raider game wearing a 49ers jacket.
Yeah, I remember it being pretty damn dangerous. At,
flat out dangerous.
At the Coliseum. Yeah, I somehow managed to find myself, it was when I was younger, so Halloween party, woke up, hey, your ride's going to this Raider game tomorrow. Like, you have to go. I'm like, nah, I'm a Niner fan, I can't go. And then I woke up there. And I was like, oh, shit, I better not tell anybody. And it gets pretty volatile out there.
Huh. Well,
it gets hostile. Speaking of the Niners, they're undefeated.
5-0.
5-0.
Yeah.
I know Nsima's been following really closely along this football season. He's got a fantasy team going and everything, right?
Sick.
No.
Hey, you know what though? Don't feel bad because I used to watch so much football. I used to know everyone's name. I used to know like the college the dude went to. I don't know shit anymore.
Terrible.
I don't know much anymore. I mean, I know a good amount because I still follow it.
Yeah.
But there's also like the entrepreneur side of me and the side of me that like wants to get after stuff. And I'm like, is my relationship with the TV and NFL football like just is like it's probably not even healthy. I need to go go do something. Like get the hell up, go for a walk, stop being so fat laying on the couch and eating pizza or whatever I'm eating.
Yeah,
you know?
I felt like that yesterday watching the game because it was the first game that I watched like from literally like oh the game's gonna be on. Let me turn it on while I'm making the Piedmontese sliders actually. Turn it on and I watched it all the way through. That's the first time I've done that in like 3 years maybe, probably more.
Yeah.
And then I remember afterwards, I felt like, dude, I could have done literally so many things right now, and I just threw it all away. But it was really cool, man. Like it was fun to watch it.
No, sometimes you need that. You need to just be able to watch something. But like, I like basketball more, but I haven't even been able to really watch a basketball game.
Same.
I'm more so
pro, college.
Pro. I usually have to like pay attention to highlights.
Yeah, I love basketball. As a kid, I used to play a lot of basketball, but it was like the one thing I had to give up because I would just always my knees would always kill me. Like I could play football and I could lift and I could do all kinds of stuff. I mean, I guess it was for the better. I wasn't very good anyway, so it was probably okay. But I love a sport where like football is like football. You have like a destination. Like each player has like a certain spot they got to like go to, and then the defender just follows the offensive players around. And so you have like spots you need to like run to all the time. But I love sports that just have hustle in them, you know, like volleyball, for example. Like I even like playing volleyball because
I saw that video
of
Quinn killing it. That was insane.
Yeah, she closed that game out.
Yeah.
Yeah, she shut those kids up. She was like, "What's up, kids?" It was a lot of fun watching her play. But like even for myself, you know, getting on a court like that or basketball where it's like, yeah, like it helps if you're highly skilled and if you can really shoot and if you know how to, you know, if you know how to handle the ball. I mean, that's in basketball, that's so huge, right? But just running around is kind of fun, and you try to like, you know, like maybe I can't shoot as good as the next guy, but hopefully I can get to the ball quicker than him just because I want to, just because I want to like run towards. I love stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's so crazy. Like we see pros playing, and it's just like, oh, this guy's running full speed, and he lays the ball in. Like that's so easy.
Oh my God, it's impossible.
It is so hard to run full speed, stop, and shoot the ball.
And they never miss it. I mean, it's so rare.
Dude, and it's like you see people like, oh, come on. Like, what do you like? You have no fucking clue how hard that is to not only do that full speed, shoot it, and have literally the best, your opponent is also the best player ever.
Dude, remember Jason Kidd? He would never fuck up.
Oh my God.
He would
He
take
could
off.
see the floor. It just
And like he'd lay the ball up, and you're like, oh, he's clearly, gonna throw it off the backboard. But no, he would just like lay it up, wouldn't even use the backboard,
Yeah.
and would go right in every time. You're like, how the hell is he?
Jason Kidd was insane.
How is he doing that running full speed? There's a 7-footer in his way. Like, I don't
it's
understand it.
Yeah.
And they're moving too. They're moving fast.
People don't also realize like there's like you mentioned the stopping
Mhm.
and changing direction at a dime. Like
yeah.
try running like that and then trying to change direction. You will have to make a curve. You can't just go at angles like these guys do. It's crazy.
Oh, and by the way, dribble a ball.
And dribble a ball,
And have it not go right off your foot.
right?
Yeah,
Which
that shit's
definitely happens.
that shit's hard. I haven't really watched much basketball, but I guess the basketball season's starting up. We just had
Yep.
the Phoenix Suns strength coach
hmm
was in the house the other day.
Yeah.
That was really cool to have Corey Schlesinger
hmm
here, and then it's really been neat how there's kind of this like network of people. They all know each other. Corey was here, and then 2 days later, Keenan Robinson, the U.S. Olympic swimming strength and conditioning coach, was here, and he was telling me what a mutant Michael Phelps is and some of the other athletes he works with, and that was really cool. And it's really cool to hear how these guys they share information, and then they're taking stuff from powerlifting and using it. Keenan was like, the number one exercise we have our athletes do is a reverse hyper. And he's like, right behind that, they're doing slingshot bench press and push-ups, because a lot of swimmers, he said, have shitty backs. A lot of times it's because they have they got some really good mobility through their lower back, and they're able to move their back a lot, kind of the shifting of the hips and the lower back when they do things like a breaststroke. And he said because they're kind of like wiry and the way that they're built, he said there has to be some attention to some lower back training. And so he's been trying to figure out for a while, he's been watching West Side stuff. He's been watching the stuff here at Super Training. And he's like, that's great, the way that they're able to have these people, lift heavy and get stronger backs. But he's like, with my athletes, I'm afraid I'm going to hurt them. So he's had them do a lot of reverse hyperextensions, which I thought was really interesting.
That's pretty awesome. Corey was also mentioning something like when he was here the other day, he's like, yeah, I have to be even more careful on these guys. He's like, nah, it's just absolutely make sure they cannot get hurt,
Yeah.
But like, it's so important for these guys to strength train. It's just, they have to be so, I guess the strength coaches just need to be so, not just careful, but there's another word I'm looking for that I can't think of.
They have to make sure that these athletes are feeling better,
Yeah.
from a workout and not feeling. But how do you make someone feel better and give them a good dose of something that'll get them stronger?
Mm-hmm.
Because we talk about it all the time here on the show, is that it needs to be like challenging.
Yes.
Sometimes it needs to be a little bit of a roll of the dice. Sometimes you get like, you need to kind of be like, coach wants me to do what? Like sometimes it needs to be like that a little bit, right?
Yeah. And I can assume some of these guys at that point, they're just like, if they don't want to do something, they're just not going to do it. Because like at the end of the day, it's their say, So like that's got to be a different type of game as a coach.
I think if you're playing that long game, though, then you can kind of Corey Schlesinger is having such an impact on the strength and conditioning world. It's really cool because he's still really young, that a lot of other coaches are following suit, and they're just telling their athletes, I just want you to work on this one thing. And so Corey does a great job of like, he's really lying to everybody because they're doing a lot more than one thing. Yeah. They're really almost always doing 2 or 3 things. There's like one main thing that they're doing, and there's also like a warm up beforehand and a cool down afterwards. But the warm up and cool down stuff is just movement, and that's going to make the athletes feel really good. For example, he might have them doing some like duck under type of work where the athlete is like ducking under like a rope or ducking under a bar, and then, squatting under it and then coming out the other side and doing things like that, where it's just like, I'm just going to get you to move because I know that your joints and everything's getting stiff from all the activity and everything. We just want you to move and get warm. So you might have them do something like that. And then the main thing for the day might be like a rack deadlift for a good set of 5. And he just wants the athlete to, have some good control with a weight that is challenging, but he doesn't want like blood shooting out of their nose, that kind of thing. And then
Yeah.
he'll have them move into some other movements. But I think that's great, man. That's a great way to sell it to athletes is let's have you work on, we're going to train pretty much every day. That's what he does almost nearly every day, 5 to 7 days a week. And then like, we're going to focus in on one thing each day. And if an athlete does say, hey, you know what, I don't want to do it, it doesn't matter as much because they're training all the time.
Yeah, it's going to be like, the sport of basketball. You see athletes of kind of every single size, from Steph Curry all the way up to the new Zion Williamson. Have you seen that dude?
Yeah, he's a monster.
270, 6'5", 6'6". So, like, I mean, and he could play football too. But, like, in sports like football, that's where you see a lot of guys lifting like a lot like powerlifters. And I think that's where I like sports like that, where, you really, what you do in the weight room and how strong you are can play a much bigger role in terms of the impact that you have on the field. Because in basketball, it plays an effect, but not so much. Like, even if you're a guy like Zion, right, there are a bunch of other guys that are much smaller than you that can be just as effective as you. But in football, that's a big difference.
Right. And then in like baseball, right, like getting big and strong, I'm sure it has an impact. And, you put on some size and put on some weight. I think putting on like size and weight would probably even be more impactful than simply just being able to like bench squat or deadlift more.
Yeah.
Like if obviously like through lifting would be a great way of doing that, but powerlifting and almost a diet that follows powerlifting might have you cracking more home runs. If you look at Barry Bonds' career, I'm sure Bonds was dedicated to the whole process, in a bunch of different ways, but he put on a lot of weight. And just the fact that he put on a lot of weight, regardless of how he did it, that probably had a huge impact on how he's able to smack the ball around so much.
I'm trying to think of a sport that being bigger and like just being big and strong isn't a benefit. Like even Tiger Woods does quite a bit of resistance training, quite a bit of deadlifting. He's when you see that guy, he's a strong dude.
Something like tennis.
I would say so. Like I've seen, So and then we've talked about this before, but when steroids start to come into play, if your sport has a lot to do with your cardiovascular, then it might be to your detriment. So like in baseball, probably don't matter too much. You take a bunch of juice and you get all jacked up and you're 40 pounds heavier. And as long as you, as long as you've been swinging that bat and your hand-eye coordination is similar, it might take you some time to adjust to it, but it's probably not going to take that long. You're probably just going to notice like, shit, I'm a little stronger and I can push some of these balls that are in certain spots a little further than I thought before. Maybe I have to swing a little earlier. Like it might be a couple little things, but it probably takes, a couple months to adjust to it, to really tweak it. But I have seen it in MMA where some of the athletes have gotten, they've gotten big and then they've gotten in the ring and they've like, they don't have any more conditioning.
They get gassed out.
I've seen it with like Vitor Belfort, probably the most famous of the bunch, where he was like 205. And Vitor Belfort, if you bring up Vitor Belfort versus Tank Abbott, and Vitor Belfort versus he fought some big fat Italian dude too. He smoked these guys, smoked them. I mean, he threw like 40 punches in probably like 30 seconds, 15 seconds. I mean, they couldn't do anything. But then when he came back and fought later on, he probably put 20, 30 pounds on and he wasn't as effective. Tank Abbott was the man back in the day. The thing I loved about Tank Abbott is that his record was like 11-15. Like he lost a lot of fights. But he would, it's funny because he would always talk shit afterwards and be like, so what, the guy got me in an ankle lock. He's like, big deal. He like didn't even bother to adapt and like learn the jujitsu side of it. He just thought that was weak. He's like, I just want to trade hands with people, man. He's like, forget about tying people up like a pretzel.
Yeah. But underneath a little bit of that fat, that dude is
look at those traps.
Yeah, look at those traps, man.
Well, he's actually I think like in this particular fight, like he's in pretty good shape for him. He was strictly a bar brawler, back in the day, and then he got in better shape and started taking it more seriously, I think, when there was more. But he knocked people out. violently. He actually has a 600-pound bench.
Look at Vitor though.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
What the hell?
And so Vitor, I think right here, I mean, I don't remember his body weight here, but if this is the first time that they fought, from what I recall, he just goes in there, and this may not even be the first time. They might have fought more than once, but he just goes in there and smokes him, and his hand speed and stuff is just something that no one can deal with. But then the next time he comes back, he's probably enhanced here. And when he comes back,
Yeah, I've seen him bigger.
he's got like 40 pounds more of enhancement,
Jesus.
This is back in the original UFC days where even the referee was like, I might as well get on some shit too. Big John McCarthy.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Oh, man.
Oh, and he goes for the arm. Up.
Yeah, this was, the original UFC, years ago was pretty damn fun to watch. You'd get nervous when you'd watch it.
Mm-hmm. I remember having to go to like the back of like Blockbuster and rent them.
Oh yeah,
because like I didn't know where to find them, and that's the only way. And I just remember every time we did, I felt like we were doing something bad.
Why'd you say the back of Blockbuster? Is it like not allowed or something?
Yeah, it was. Well, they
look how relentless he is.
Oh,
they didn't promote
goodness.
it, like it was like next to like all like the adult rated like
yes.
special.
Tank Abbott is tough, by the way. He's just getting annihilated. Oh, they just ended it.
Ooh. Wow.
Yeah, he was getting smoked. But anyway, yeah, like in a sport like that, I think where there's conditioning involved, if he got too big too quick, then maybe you wouldn't be able to breathe when you went to do your sport.
That's why they're getting caught with SARMs or SARM-like compounds like cardine, because it just enhances your endurance big time.
You said they're getting caught with stuff like that in their system?
Yeah. It's weird. Like I think that's more one of those things where like the testing caught up to it. Like it was the new thing, they were doing it, and then it caught up. So now who knows what's coming next?
Always something.
Bunch of cheaters. Can't believe these people. What'd you think of the seminar, Nsima?
It was great. First off, like Conjugate.
Honestly, though, were you sitting there the whole time just being like, I could do a way better job than all these guys?
No, it was not. If anybody, like, people see Jeremy, like, I don't know, pull in video, but it's different when you see him pull in person.
Yeah, what was that about? It was so fast.
The speed doesn't change from lift to lift to lift. Like 135 all the way up. I don't know. I think he pulled maybe 495 or sixth place, maybe 585. Speed doesn't change. Like he keeps that speed the whole time. And that's just so wild to me, because it's like when I do sumo, I expect it to be slow off the floor, but with Jeremy, it's just like bam, bam. And even Jesse was saying, and I think it's really cool, how Jesse talked about how like he, instead of like trying to make Jeremy pull in a certain way, he's like, he can box jump 65 inches. He's super explosive. Let's train this explosiveness, right? He pulls sumo differently than anybody else I've seen. I think KO pulls in a very similar way, extremely explosive, but it's very different from a person like Yuri. Yuri, like Belkin's one of those classic sumo pullers where he's a little bit slow off the ground, but once that bar breaks the ground, he drives through. It just goes to show that there's a lot of different ways to lift. You don't have to, there's a lot of different ways to do it.
I found that to be really cool too, because it was like, obviously, they're attacking some weaknesses, but they're working on his strength, and they're working on some of that explosive power. And obviously, like, for someone that pulls sumo, you're going to also be attacking some conventional deadlifting. You're going to do some deficit training, because, the whole thing of a sumo deadlift is to, gain some advantage through some leverages. So why not have some disadvantages with leverages occasionally in your training too? And maybe that's not in the form of a deficit pull, but maybe you just have in your programming, you have some RDL, some stiff leg deadlifts. You got some exercises where it's like, okay, I'm going to, put myself in a slightly different position. So I'm working slightly different muscles. But yeah, I thought, the contrast of the lifters, I thought was really great too, because you got to see Tiny Tiff, and her bar is not moving very far, but she doesn't have a whole lot of body weight on her.
Yeah.
And then when Sarah was going, I mean, she's got to move the bar freaking really far with how tall she is and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And then she's really efficient, and she had good leg drive, but she's also an athlete that's going to use her lower back a lot more. And it kind of shows you, like, there's a bunch of different ways to do this. What I was most surprised by, though, is how fast Jeremy moves even the lighter weights, because I feel like a lot of us, if we were to try it, I don't think we could move it anywhere near as fast as him, even though the weight's not challenging. So it's kind of interesting. It's like normally when you try to move a weight fast, you know, a deadlift is different than some of the other lifts, but like, let's just take the case of the bench press. If we were just to bench press the bar as fast and as crazy as we possibly can, normally there's some like deceleration that goes on because our bodies are, you know, the human like machine is probably the greatest machine that will ever be created. Nothing will ever be smarter than it. It's like wild, right? We don't even know how a lot of things work. Can't figure it out. There's a lot of deceleration that goes on when you have a resistance that's not like an optimal weight. It's not the, so if we were to take bands, and we were to do 20 reps with bands and the bar, even though that's way heavier, that would move a lot faster than if you were to do 20 reps with just the bar, which is kind of weird, but it's because the bands, you have to accelerate into them really, really fast the entire time. So you would do, let's just hypothetically say you did 20 reps in 10 seconds. Whereas if you just did the bar by itself, I would just assume that it might be slightly slower than that. You might get a little less reps in that same time period. So when I was watching Jeremy do it, I was like, maybe his like joints and ligaments and tendons and stuff are just, you know, really healthy. Obviously he's able to tap into some fast twitch muscle fibers that are maybe a little different than the rest of us. He's able to, you know, recruit a lot of motor units and is able to recruit a lot of muscle in a short period of time. His like rate of force development is probably really good.
Yeah.
But it was just mind boggling to me because I was like, if I tried to move, you know, if I tried to just move a plate, and I realized he's much, much stronger than me. And, you know, as we always say, strength is never weakness. So being strong obviously is a big factor here. But I was kind of surprised to see like even like 1 and 2 plates, I was like, I don't think I could figure that out, how to move that fast.
I'm trying to wrap my head around what you just said there in terms of like the 1 and 2 plates and not, because maybe you did a lot of reps, it would have slowed down, but like, I don't know, 1 and 2 plates, I think you could move that really fast.
No, I could move it really fast, but not nearly
as fast as him.
Yeah, not nearly as fast as he can. I mean, he's able to almost put like, you know, probably not 800 pounds, but he probably is putting like 600 or 700 pounds worth of strength into it.
Okay.
You know, and that might be the difference too, because I'm, you know, not that strong at the moment when it comes to specifically like a deadlift. But I was just thinking like, there's not another person in this room, I don't think, that could move the weight. Like even if we just had it hooked up to something that showed the force.
Yeah.
And again, I understand he's stronger. But to me, like what was the most interesting part of that, I'm like, how is his body able to do that? Because from what I know about lifting is that when you try to lift something really, really fast and really, really crazy, your body wants to slow down at least a little bit just to kind of protect itself. So you're not kind of like overextending or hyperextending the joints and ligaments.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, even no weight, there's not a lot of people on the planet that can move from like that sumo position to standing up, right?
Yeah.
Like he's so quick. Like if I were to do it, I would go way over, like Mark just said.
Yeah,
and I would be like not even half the speed that he does it with 2 plates. So I think that's kind of what Mark's getting at, because yeah, it's almost like he's just like in a perfect groove, right? Like if you're on a track,
yeah,
and you just like floor it or something, like you're never gonna go off track. He's kind of in that situation there.
And if we think about, you know, like part of the reason why he's able to do that is because they utilize the dynamic effort method.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think, you know, I wish more people would be a little more open to the dynamic effort method and just view it and realize that it's just a form of practice, you know, and I think maybe that would be a better way for people to look at it. But if you've been deadlifting for a few years and you feel like, or even a few months, and you feel like you're pretty stuck, I think some dynamic effort deadlifting would be great for you. Maybe just start out with like 5 sets of 2, because that's pretty low and pretty modest amount of volume. Start out with about 50% of your max just to see how that feels on week 1.
For speed work, correct?
Yeah, for speed work, yep. And then kind of see like, you know, over a period of time, you know, maybe you're going to use 55, 60, 70, almost 70% maybe for the weights that you're, you know, the weights that are going to be optimal for you. But I think if you were to think about it this way, if you were to able to work your way into 10 sets of 1, it's like that's 10 sets of practice.
Yeah.
It's 10 sets of practice at 1 rep, which is great for anybody, regardless of how you're trying to lift.
I think when most people look at Conjugate from the outside in, they're like, oh, that's not specific enough, blah, blah, blah. But I think the goal, like it seems from what Jesse was saying, that the goal of utilizing dynamic effort work and the Conjugate method is to plug up all the holes that may be seeping so that when you do get to your specific sumo, deadlift, or conventional, you don't have weaknesses. You know?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree. Yeah, you're hitting max effort work once a week. You're going as heavy as you can on a variation of a squat or a deadlift. With Jesse's system, they usually go 2 squats. One squat 1 week, another variation of a squat the next week, and then they go into deadlifts for 2 weeks, and they kind of bounce back and forth. The variations of the deadlift is where things get to be really interesting and things get to be kind of tricky because it's not even always a deadlift.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like a low box squat with a safety squat bar, and you're like, wait, I thought we were deadlifting. But if you were kind of thinking about, it's like, okay, we're trying to develop that push through the floor the same way we would, with a, and if you do a pause box squat and you sit down there for a second,
Yeah.
it kind of feels like a deadlift, and you come off the box the exact same way you would if you did a shit deadlift.
Yeah.
Where your butt kind of comes up first and everything starts to fall apart. I just think it's so cool how there's so many different ways of gaining progress and gaining momentum in powerlifting, because a lot of times people that do Conjugate, West Side type stuff, they shit on people that do periodization, and sometimes vice versa. But it's like, man, if you actually look at both systems and you're smart about it, in both programs or any program that you're trying to run, you always have to kind of start over. And I think periodization is really effective. And one thing I like that periodization does, and by the way, there is periodization in the West Side Barbell program. It's built in. And also there's, you're going to prioritize as you get closer to a contest, and you're going to start doing things that look a little bit more like a competition lift as the contest gets closer and closer. You're not going to do a safety squat bar squat, 3 and 4 weeks out from the meet necessarily. You're probably going to be working on like an opener, just like you probably would if you were doing periodization. Yeah, that's some unbelievable speed. We're watching some of this stuff on YouTube.
That was 585, right? My God.
Yeah, that was the most he did that, however many plates. But it was funny. So I was, monitoring the live stream and stuff. And of course, it's YouTube live, so it happens. But all like, what is you conventional? And I'm like, he does more than everybody in this chat room conventional, so it doesn't matter.
He did like what, 780 something conventional, or
I don't know. So I just ended up sending the link of him and Kaler doing both conventional and sumo at the old ST.
I remember the first time that I lifted with Jeremy. I was pretty strong at the time, and I lifted with him, and it was my first time that I met Kyle Kingsbury. And Kyle Kingsbury was training with Jesse Burdick for quite some time around that time period.
Oh, sick!
And we got to like 4 plates, and I think we might have had a band on there or something. It was some pretty good weight, and I moved it pretty quick. And I was kind of like, let's see how this guy handles that weight, like kind of like I put some oomph into it, and I thought I did pretty good. And then he went, and I was like, "Oh, I'm like, this is not a competition. Like, and if it is, I'm done. Like this guy's got me." And then we went up and did a quarter, and I think I still got like a double, and the weight still felt pretty good. And Kyle just kind of shook his head. He's like, "Bell," he's like, "You're not winning today, man." Like, he's like, he's like, "Jeremy's just different." And I was like, I pretty much have noticed that already,
Even people can see it in the video that's on the SG channel, but Jeremy, he quite literally is built differently in terms of his rectors and his back. Every time I see him, it's like I have to touch him just because they come out of his back so much.
It's crazy.
It's really not normal at all.
An alien popping out.
Yes, it's like he has a baby on his back. It's like another set of abs or another belly on his backside.
Yeah, he's got back abs.
He really does. Yeah. My gosh. But some people literally are really just built differently. Jeremy, like Eliud Kipchoge, that guy who just did the marathon. Michael Phelps, we were just talking about how long his torso is versus his short legs, and you mentioned his big feet and wide wingspan. Some people literally just are built differently.
They got some different shit going on that helps them be who they are. Keenan Robinson, the strength coach, he was telling me that Michael Phelps in one of his races, he couldn't see it all. His glasses, his goggles rather, just filled up with water. And then he still won the race, but he barely won it.
And he set a world record in that one, right?
Yeah,
I think I've seen that. Yeah.
He set a world record, and they were like, kind of what happened at the end. Like, it looked like you were able to really, push a little harder than even normal for you. And he was like, well, I couldn't see, and so he's like, because I couldn't see, he's like, I panicked for about a stroke or two, and then I was like, oh shit, I better make sure my stroke pace is down. And he was just like, I've been swimming for so long. I was like, we got 8 more strokes, that's all we need, and so he's like, I counted them out, and he's like, the 8th one, boom, touched the wall. And that's one of those races where he like just barely won by like 100th of a second or something crazy like that.
Wow.
And everybody was really mesmerized, and he was like, he calmed himself down and he concentrated on himself. And then he was able to perform even to another level. A guy who has like 22 or 24 gold medals.
That's insane.
Savage.
Yeah.
But yeah, like him not being able to see was like ended up being a good thing. So he ended up kind of focusing in on, his technique, which is like, it's always important. And I think Jason Khalipa does a lot of this stuff too. When he talks about the AMRAP mentality and really going for it and pushing yourself really, really hard on something. Jason's weakness at one point was running. He just wasn't great at running. And so his coach would say, rather than concentrate on breathing, because every time he concentrated on breathing, he felt out of breath and he would panic. And his coach was like, let's focus in on like your foot strikes. Like, are you striking with your heel every time? Should we be more on the ball of your foot? How's your stride length? How's your form? How's your technique? Are your hands relaxed? Is your jaw relaxed? And so Jason's like, sure enough, when I get tired in a race, jaw's tight, and he's like tense, and he's like running, like he's like, my arms would wave back and forth sideways. Because it's like he's running like mad. And he's like, then I'd relax my arms, relax my shoulders, and he's like, and rather than thinking about breathing, I was focusing on these other things. And that would help him make a lot of progress. And he was moving way faster than he thought.
Yeah, and then he also talks about like during whatever workout the CrossFit Games called for, he would in the past he would think like, oh my gosh, my legs are totally shot, like they're not moving anymore. He turned that mindset into like, oh dude, my legs are getting a sick workout right now. I can't wait to see how much bigger they get by the end of this.
Yeah.
And so after he did that, he would get like more fired up, like, well shit, I want to make them grow even more. And then he would just keep pushing even further. So yeah, the mindset thing was huge for him.
Somebody on my Instagram, I posted up a picture of me in a burrito. I'm sure you guys saw, and you guys were probably jelly.
Was it from?
Get to see that.
No, it wasn't from Guadalajara, but it should have been.
Yeah,
should have been.
I'm upset. That's not.
I went somewhere else. I can't remember even where it came from. But anyway, I got because we used like DoorDash or whatever. I got a burrito, and it was delicious. It was amazing. And I said something about it being, a cheat meal. And then someone was like, hey, should we even call it a cheat meal anymore?
Yeah.
And so I think that's a good conversation to kind of have and jump into. I personally, for myself, I like calling it a cheat meal because, and I understand the reasons why you wouldn't want to necessarily think of it as a cheat, because you don't want to think what you did was bad. You don't want to think like, man, I really let myself down. And then maybe you feel shitty about that. And maybe it causes a cascade of like, shitty feelings about yourself and about your dedication to your diet. But for me, like, I can identify that for myself as like bad food. Like that's not great for me to do all that often. And I don't want to do it all that often. And it goes against a lot of like the things that I'm trying to do and the discipline I'm trying to instill. But the reason to do it is to every once in a while just enjoy it. And then also a cheat for me would even be just extra eating. So like even just extra food, I kind of consider that a cheat too. And I'm working on a process, over a long period of time of trying to refine everything that I'm doing. So even when I'm eating, on point, and even when I'm eating the proper meals, if I go home and eat like a 4-pound thing, if I eat 4 pounds of meat, I personally still consider that even a little bit of a cheat, because it's not sticking to what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is to eat for health, eat for longevity, eat to have a better physique, that kind of stuff. So I kind of put it all in this category of like, this is stuff that I don't want to be doing all the time or all that often.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying there. I honestly fully agree with you because, you're at a place and you're at a point in your diet where you can understand that you can do this and you can do it every now and then, and it's not going to actually throw you off of your goals. And you can call it a cheat without it affecting your mindset. But some people are still in a place where if they have one meal like that, it might not be planned, right? It might be like a spur of the moment or an urge type of thing. And then when they feel that they've cheated, it then messes with their head and it makes them feel all these negative thoughts about it. And then they start to spiral out of control because of the cheat, quote unquote, right?
Yeah, because you always hear people like, "Oh, I messed up at lunch, so I'm just gonna the rest of the day is done now, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep cheating the rest of the day." And it's
Yeah.
like, well, that's a silly thought.
Exactly. But yeah, exactly. Because like you have it controlled. And even myself, like this weekend, we went to San Jose and went to the Winchester Mystery House and we ate out, right? Like all of this stuff was planned. And in most cases, people would call that a cheat. But like, yeah, okay, it was a cheat. But like we know the effect it's going to have. And it was something that's planned. So I think that it really depends on who it is that's calling it a cheat.
Right.
Do you know what you're doing? Like, are you planning this out? Are you aware that it's not going to have a big effect, or is this something that happens randomly and you're not in control of it? And in that case, then it's something that you need to handle in terms of your diet and your lifestyle.
Do they still do the step trick at Winchester Mystery House?
So we went. This is the first time I've gone, and we did this thing called Unhinged. It's a night tour.
Oh,
where,
nice.
Yeah, so it's like it was actually extremely scary. But like, yeah, you're in the house for about 50 minutes and you're going from room to room and they just scare the fuck out of you in every single room.
Sounds terrible.
I was absolutely just like it messed me up a little bit. But it was really fun. Anyway, from that, but yeah, like I think it depends on who's calling it a cheat.
Yeah.
That's why I'm always like, let's not call it a cheat, just because there's so many people that I guess when they think about it, it just affects them too much.
Right.
They need to be able to look at it differently and handle it, because there's no way. There is a way. There are some people we do know that stay away from this food forever,
Yeah.
right? But most people, even when they get a handle on their diet, they're going to be having food like this every now and then, and it'd be good if they don't think of it all the time as, I guess, being negative for them.
I agree on that side of it too. And I think, that if somebody is thinking about, getting on a specific plan, I think it's healthy practice to not really think about being like on and off of a diet, period. It's a new thing for you to work on. And this statement sucks, but it's a new thing for you to work on forever. Like if you're listening right now and you're 40 pounds overweight and you want to make a change, you don't lose 40 pounds and then you're like, all right, peace out. I'm not going to follow a plan anymore. There'll always be rules. If you have gotten through life this long and you've been healthy, and you haven't had to really follow any rules, it may be time that you'll have to start to follow at least some. But it's just kind of different for different people. Some people don't have to really pay a lot of attention to their food. It could be their metabolism, could be partially their genetics, and it could be that they just ingrained in them somewhere. They have some decent practices that haven't shown up on the scale or haven't shown up in any, unhealthy ways. For myself, though, too, like, and it's hard to even share, a post like that because I don't want people to get the wrong idea, but I have said many times that, while you're on your diet, while you're on your plan, you're going to have room for stuff like this here and there. And, even in my book, The War on Carbs, I don't talk about a cheat meal because I don't think that you should have a cheat meal every X amount of days. I think that you should just go and work on stringing together a couple of good days. When the cravings start to creep in, then you have to ask yourself a couple of questions. Are you eating enough calories? Because maybe you're not eating enough calories. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you overtraining? Like, so if you're overtraining and undereating and underslept, you're going to have probably some really wild cravings going on. You're going to really want to tackle some food. So it's not a great idea to have this, every 5-day thing where you're going to go off the rails. But if you can understand why you're going off the rails or why that's even happening to you, you can probably put together a lot more productive days than just 3, 4, or 5 days. You could probably start to get like, that's the first time I've done anything like that in probably maybe like a few months. Now I've had a couple of drinks and I've had like a couple of small things off, but like on this day I had this and I had some ice cream. I mean, it's been a while since I've really like, done anything like that. And so I know for myself that, I'm sleeping pretty good. I'm pretty well hydrated. There's a lot of other things in my life that are going pretty good because I'm not sitting around thinking about these foods all the time.
Yeah. Nsima, I don't know if you've ever worked with anybody like literally that's like maybe like an aunt or something where like
a what?
Like an aunt or like an uncle or just somebody who's like
okay.
starting from like literally like day zero. How do you define like it's gonna be a lifestyle? Because like I've heard that in the past and I've never really understood it until like I was literally doing it and I didn't understand what I was doing. But like for somebody who maybe doesn't understand what that really means, how would you break that down for them?
The first thing that I do if it's someone that doesn't have any experience, because there's someone I'm working with that literally doesn't have any experience, is like you try to go through what their typical days look like every single day. Like, and if they can't necessarily even define that, I'll just let them go through a week and have them really pay attention to what they're eating every single day and what they're doing. And then you kind of go from the top down. Okay. So we already talked about sleep a lot. So we're not even going to go into that because if you're not getting enough sleep, everything just is more difficult. But then for somebody who just doesn't, I guess, they don't realize it or they don't necessarily keep track of it, you just try to figure out like, what are you consuming? Where are you consuming it from? Are you eating out most of the time? Do you have a lot of snacks in your house? And we just go through like that. You go through step by step, taking out the snacks, implementing whole foods, going from there, not even tracking. And I do make sure to let people know that it is going to be pretty damn hard because I think a lot of people have the assumption that this is going to be like, I would like it to be easy, but in most cases, it's not an easy thing to kind of switch somebody into a totally different direction. If for a majority of their life, they've been doing one thing, it's not easy at all. So I always let people know this is not easy and it's going to suck for months. But it's literally trying to change bigger habits. So your question's a really big question, but if I look at it this way, I want to look and see what their daily habits are, get rid of one bad habit at a time. I don't want to, if I try and change too many things, it's going to be too overwhelming and we're probably going to F up. So I'm going to try to help them get good sleep at first and then stop snacking on bad food. And then from there, we'll start making better food choices slowly. But it starts from the top down because if you don't get enough sleep, you don't make good choices.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, that's perfect. Because like the question spawns from like me telling somebody like, oh, like it's just going to become a lifestyle. And it's like, oh, well, what does that mean? I'm like, that's just what you do now. Like you don't even think about it. That's just what you do. Okay. How do I get there? I don't know. I'm going to ask Nsima.
Exactly. But like you just mentioned it, like it's a lifestyle because you have good lifestyle habits. And the thing is right now you have bad lifestyle habits. You have bad habits that you're doing without even thinking about it. So first off, we need to like change these bad habits and put a good habit in the place of the bad one. That's what we have to do. It's not just saying you need to eat this and not that or track this and whatever. It's literally changing the way a person lives if they have no experience. That's like the hardest type of person to, transform because it's like you're not just changing their food and you're not just like giving them a workout program. You're now telling them the way you live your life is not ideal. It's not good. We need to change what you do every single day if you want to be successful. And that's tough.
Yeah, Andrew, this is why you're so valuable on this podcast because you're in a different place in your journey than Nsima and I are. And like, this is an amazing question. And this is like an entire podcast, really. I mean, we can go on for hours about this particular topic, but some things that just came up while you guys were talking, like, why is it a lifestyle? It's because it interrupts every single thing that you've ever done before. And it's going to interrupt your relationship with your significant other. It's going to interrupt your relationship with your children. It's going to interrupt and disrupt the way that you perceive entertainment. Maybe you have favorite spots that you love to go. Your favorite spots that you love to go to are going to change. You're not going to be pumped about Applebee's anymore, maybe because maybe you don't view that they have stuff that's healthy for your particular diet. on their menu. Maybe you start to learn about, you know, these seed oils and how dangerous they can be and so on, right? Maybe you start to learn a lot and you're like, holy shit, like I got to really cut out a lot of stuff out of my lifestyle. So it's going to interrupt a lot of your relationships with your friends. I know some friends who've had to cut out alcohol, and cutting out recreational alcohol is not really any different than getting away from your old buddies that used to shoot up heroin.
Yep.
It's that crazy because you're like, you know what? I don't want to do heroin anymore. So we're not even friends. Like that's the only reason why you were friends is because you drank together. And I'm not looking down on that in any way. I think that it's just a social thing. It's like, oh, this couple over here, they like to drink. We like to drink. We're going to get together and we're going to get like hammered every weekend. But as soon as one side, maybe it's Nsima, right? And maybe he's like, I got these goals with jujitsu. Like, and I keep, you know, hey, we need to get together. Yeah, bro. Like, well, yeah, right? He doesn't want to like tell me like, I'm not doing that shit no more.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of get the picture. Okay, well, you know, I got to find someone, a new drinking buddy, right? Once you start to change your goals, then everything else that you do is going to change, and it's going to cause, I've talked before about kind of like a cascade of disciplines, like one thing's going to beam down from another. And that's why I talk so much about a 10-minute walk, and Seema's 100% right about let's give you like one thing, you know, dad, mom, aunt, uncle. Can I get you to get outside a couple times a day? Like you live in Florida, you live in California, you live in these nice areas, can get you get outside a couple times a day and walk for a few minutes. Like that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
Come back to him 2 weeks later. I've been walking and I know you suggested that I write down some of my foods. Here's what I've been doing. And you're like, wow, like, okay, your food actually isn't that messed up. It's not nearly as bad as I thought. If we have you fast for 12 hours or 14 hours every day, you have just maybe missed breakfast, we might be like onto something. It might be because at breakfast, you're having a muffin every morning and you're having coffee with sugar. And if we just cut that out and we kept the walks and you feel good with the walks, yep, okay. And so that's how it disrupts your lifestyle because it starts to really change. It starts to change everything all the way to the point where I've seen people break up over it. I've seen, you know, if you've been around a gym for a while and you've seen, you know, the woman or, I mean, man or woman, but usually you see the woman get in really good shape and then, you know, they're with the personal trainer or they're with somebody else in the gym because they changed so many aspects of their life. And that's not, that same thing's not happening at home. They're not living that lifestyle. I've seen it so many times in the fitness industry. Going around the different, you know, going around to all the different shows. Sometimes you see somebody with someone different nearly every year, it seems like. And it's because like their lifestyle had changed so drastically from what it used to be. But anytime you watch TV, I mean, who doesn't watch some TV? I think just about everybody watches some TV. I know there's some people that don't enjoy TV, but for the most part, all Americans are watching some TV, plopping down in front of their TV while they're eating. So what you're eating and just everything is going to change. And maybe even all the people that you follow on Instagram changes because you don't want that feed coming through. Like I don't want to see these delicious foods coming through on my feed like that are tempting, you know, like I'm over it now. Like I'm in a good spot nowadays, so it doesn't bother me. But starting out, like I would have never followed any of these like food chefs and stuff. That would have drove me nuts.
Mm-hmm. You know,
Even your wardrobe's obviously going to change once you start getting in shape, but then you start caring a little bit more about what you're wearing.
Hey, how good does that feel? How good does it feel to go to a store and put something on and be like, damn, that actually looks pretty cool.
Yep.
When you're like not in good shape, you don't have the arms that you want, you don't have the body that you want, you're like, I should not buy that. Like that looked pretty cool on The Rock, but we'll have to just leave it right there.
No, I mean, right now, like I put out on my Instagram, like, hey, give me some shorts recommendations. Cause like we've been going over and over with this Lululemon thing. It's
they got like the 3.5s now.
Oh,
3 point. Yeah. Oh wait, no, 3 inches.
3 inches.
3 inches.
Yeah.
Like you mean like they're like up?
Yep. that 1% Congo's about to hang out.
They're banned in the Congolese.
Oh my God. Why? I guess runners. No, runners wear shorts like that. Yeah.
Super,
Okay.
they're short and they're like they have the slit on the side too, so they get even higher.
Who's probably making these clothes, right? It's probably women, right? Like the women are probably the designers of these clothes, right? They're like, we need to get dudes in shorter shorts,
Maybe,
you know?
Yeah. Well, it's just funny because, like, yeah, they're gonna be like, let's see what they can fall for.
Yeah,
We're gonna
yeah.
make these 3-inchers. Let's
Oh
see who
my
falls
God.
for it. But no, because I look at all my shorts and they're all really big and baggy because that's what I'm used to wearing. Like, if it was up to me, I'd still be dressing like I did in junior high.
Yeah,
like,
basketball shorts.
exactly, nonstop. But now I'm like, well, shit, man. Got a little bit of quad development here. I don't want to wear these baggy ass shorts anymore. So I've been looking for a legit pair of
I
shorts.
saw the quads popping out the other day. I don't remember what exercise we were doing. Maybe some leg press.
Yeah.
But there was some shape going on there.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm not trying to wear baggy clothes anymore.
Yeah,
that part of me is kind of
Can't
dying
wait to
off.
see you wearing shorts like we were now. Like, I feel the same way because back in high school, I was all about like the baggy shorts and stuff. And now, like, my shorts are, you can see my butt cheeks.
Yeah, I can. I can see them from here.
Yeah.
I could see your temperature from here.
Well, now I can't concentrate. Coming back down to earth. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
You know who's got some crazy legs that wears baggy shorts is John Cena.
Oh, yeah.
He always wears big baggy jorts.
Yeah.
Jean shorts.
He's so damn cool, though.
Yeah,
I
that's
know.
the thing. Like, he's a hip hop guy.
He's the worst.
Dude, the
Is
track
he's super jacked. He's got the build that like just about everybody wants, and
He
he's
speaks
wearing
Chinese.
he speaks Chinese, and then he's wearing like a 3X shirt, but he's still out angling everybody.
Still huge. The track with him and Merce is so good.
Oh yeah, that was great.
I love that song.
Oh, yeah, that was the video you sent.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It came out of nowhere, and then he killed that.
He's really smart. You guys know how he got the rapping gig? How he got that down?
No.
So he used to like I used to work with him at a place called Sharky's in Hermosa Beach. Back when he had no money and he was eating expired protein, he worked at a supplement store as well. He worked at a supplement store, the one that was in front of well, it wasn't in front of Gold's Gym. It was inside of Gold's Gym. It was Gold's Gym's supplement store. He worked there for a while, and then he also worked at Sharky's, and then we also worked together moving fitness equipment because you know, when you're a loser, you need to get as many jobs as possible to try to build up as much funds as you can. So we all kind of worked at all these different spots. But John, at Sharky's, right next to Sharky's was a place called Zeppi's Pizza. And Zeppi's had a thing there that if you could eat their pizza, that you can get a voucher for a free one. They give you like a gift card and you can get a free one.
Okay.
So John would go there because he didn't have any money, and he would eat he would eat a pizza, and then he would bring his thing up to the register, and he would like get his money back because you could do it that way too. But he would eat. It was like, man, I can't even remember how many slices. I'm going to exaggerate, but I think it might have been like about 12 slices. But it was Chicago deep dish pizza, so they're massive. You know,
Is that why they would give it back to you if you actually finished it?
yeah, because no one would ever do it. And they had people's pans on the wall. They had your name. They put your name on a pan and they put it up on the wall. And so John's name was there. And then, you know, John would come in and he started doing it almost every night that we worked. And you could see like John Cena, and it said, you know, like 1/11, you know, 02 or whatever the year was, you know, and then 1/12/02, you know, and then and the owner like probably wasn't there all the time. There's a picture of John. Look at the size of those pipes right there. But so the owner tells him, he's like, kid, he's like, I know what's going on here. He's like, you don't have to eat a whole pizza every time. He's like, anytime you want to come in for a couple slices, you know, they're on me. But John used to rap too, like even just at the bar. He would just like, I don't know, he would just start saying stuff that kind of like just rhymed together.
Yeah.
Wasn't really like rapping. I was like, I didn't know you can rap. He's like, yeah. And then he would like turn his hat backwards and like start, you know, getting way into it. And I was like, fuck, like not only can he like, you know, put some shit together, he knows how to like actually rap. And then like I never, you know, didn't really think much of it for years. And then as he was pushing forward in WWE, they did a skit on WWE, and you can pull this up. He dresses up as Vanilla Ice. But before I think they even did the skit, he was like rapping like on somebody like in the back, like they're just messing around. And Jim Ross, who was one of the kind of bigwigs at WWE at the time, was like, "Holy shit!" Like I didn't like everyone's like laughing, but the Jim Ross was like, no. He like, yeah, this is funny. What he's saying is funny. He's like, but he can rap, And then so they started having him do like a rap gimmick pretty much from this point on. It gave him a huge opportunity. I don't know if you can bring up some of the audio. He actually got, I mean, he did it for years. I don't know how the hell he did it.
Yeah, she has good flow too. Like,
yeah,
shoot, it's crazy.
I know. I love when he used to come out with the different jerseys. I don't know if you guys remember. He used to have like the different basketball and football jerseys of like whatever town he was in.
Dang.
He's shredded back then too. He's just like ridiculous.
He's permanently jacked. He's never gonna lose it.
Yep.
That's insane. What is that wig though? Like, I'm confused.
His hair looks great. I don't think it's a wig.
It's like able to grow a lot of hair too.
It's like an Ace Ventura vibe.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. Neither of you guys have lost your hairline. That's
holding it up. We're not on as much shit as you are. Natty Professor. Did you see Bedros called you Natty Professor?
I saw that.
That was amazing.
That's because of you.
He asked later. He's like Natty Professor. I said yeah like natural. He's like I like that. He's like Natty Professor.
Oh man, some people probably think that shit's a pun by now. They're like, I see. That's funny, kid. Fuck.
Imagine if he actually was natural. That would be great.
That's what makes it funny. Yeah.
Oh Lord, I am peeps. Just
you can't
reminding y'all.
You can't defend it. You can't say anything.
I'm just saying because people probably think I'm saying this as a joke at this point, but it's not
kind
a joke.
of getting aggressive, don't you think, Andrew?
Yeah. Bad shot, Nsima.
Okay.
Wow, this is must be roid rage. I mean, I have not seen this side of you before. Wow. I am shocked. Is he natty? Is he not natty? We need a whole podcast on it. We'll just interview everybody. What do you think, Andrew?
I would love to.
What do you think, though? I'm curious, Andrew. Yes or no?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm terrible with this stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
So when I did ask around, I
I did. So he's done some investigating on you.
No, well, not necessarily investigating or like
great.
asking around. It's just when the topic has come up.
Yes.
I'm just like, but there's like pictures of him like at 16 and he looks insane. And then of course the answer is like, well, he's been doing it a long time. Like
he's been on shit for many years.
And then there is the shock when you come into this realm and you understand like, oh, that person, okay, like, oh, that person too, like, oh, wow,
yeah,
pretty much anybody that has like anything to do with like fitness, like money wise, is like is okay. So now it's more of a shock when it's like, oh, really, like you're natural, like. So that's and then now with all this, maybe I would have paid more attention to the previous past.
I remember talking
stuff.
to other people like about just being natural or not, like when someone's natural, you try to figure it out, right? And I've asked people before, I'm like, do you honestly think that your genetics are like off the charts? Because like I have a lot of friends who are like, they think everyone's on shit all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like I understand, I understand what you're getting at, but not everyone that sets a world record in the IPF, it's highly unlikely that they're all beating the system, right? Because why even have a system? It's not the IPF system. They use someone else's system. So like, why would this be like rigged? If it is rigged, and why and is it even possible for all these people to be on shit? And I don't think that it is. And one thing I was just pointing out, I was like, look at your mom and look at your dad and look at your grandma and look at your grandpa and kind of like look where you came from. Like, do you feel that your genetics are that much superior? And I think a lot of people have a lot of pride with like their background and like where they came from.
Oh yeah.
And so they always want to think like really highly. But if my dad's 5'2", and or 5'4", and my grandpa was like 5'2", genetically, like not that I don't have any genetics, because I certainly have great genetics. Because when I first picked up a barbell, I was pretty strong,
and you got big.
Yeah, and I got big, and my mom, even like the first time she ever like benched with us, I think we had her. Maybe she benched a couple times. She benched like 135 or something, like, So
Really,
like, there's some good genes in there, but I don't have this delusion that I think my genes are super optimal for me to be like really lean. Go back and look at like Sean Roden when he was a kid. He just posted a picture the other day of him. He looks like he's 12, and he's like in like bodybuilding posing trunks, and he looks awesome. He's jacked.
Really.
Or look at O'Hearn when O'Hearn was a kid. Whether you think O'Hearn's on stuff now or whatever, he obviously has a set of genetics that are set up really, really well. For some reason, some people are able to tap into and display certain things that are just above and beyond, what we originally thought. I remember.
Oh my God!
Yeah. Look at his legs. How old is he?
I don't think it's
either way. Like he's definitely young there, like very young.
It doesn't say, but I mean, based on the haircut, that was a while ago.
Yeah, yeah, that's crazy.
I don't know. It's just it's baffling to me that everyone just always assumes everyone's on stuff, especially without really kind of thinking about it more. I don't think you're on stuff.
Oh,
I've always been a believer.
I appreciate that.
Not many of us out there. We're all hanging on. We're all hanging on by a thread.
I just think based off of what you said about like if you're like super strong squat, super strong deadlift, and bench, like there's a good chance that you're on something. And then like a good indicator is if one of those is very much lacking compared to the other ones.
Right.
Not saying that your bench is terrible, but in comparison to your other lifts.
Mm-hmm.
So that's like the last thing that I'm hanging on to when anybody like wants to argue.
Let's change this to somebody else, because there's this one guy who you all know.
All the pressure off of me, please.
No. But seriously, Russ Swole. Russell Orhe. Strong squat, strong bench, strong deadlift. The dude is literally wrong Russ Swole.
Wow. Pulled up some little chunky kid.
It's 2 S's, Andrew. No, not Russ, the rapper. Russwole.
Russ Swole.
Russ Swole. Third person. Yeah. Now this dude.
So does he compete in the IPF and stuff like that?
He's the top 83 right now, man.
Oh.
He's the top 83 right now.
Yeah.
Man, he's been killing it. And now
what is that?
His deadlift is at like 7. I think he just pulled like 735 or something conventional. Remember, he's an 83 kilogram, so he's like 180 something. His bench is somewhere in the mid 4s. I think he just squatted like 650 for a triple. He's now his own. He is his only competition, because no one.
What are those hamstrings?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, no one is coming for this dude at this point.
Please tell me he's
beating
like
himself.
Tell me he's like 4 feet tall then.
He's probably like 5'7". He's like 5'7".
Look at those calves.
But like Russ, like I know,
That's
I know he's
natural.
natural. I know he's
lats.
yeah. He played football at the University of Texas or something.
Is that?
Longhorns or something like that. But yeah, man, Russ is he's another level, dude. Like
he actually came up because when I was looking for shorts, the company that he wears, I was like, those look pretty cool, but that's Russ Swole. They will not fit me.
Yeah. Yeah, Russ is, man, he's gonna kill it. I can't wait to see him compete, because he's gonna kill it. And just his approach to training, he's always just such a happy dude. He's always optimistic. He's such an awesome dude.
Just always chewing on that chain too.
Yeah,
he's got
crazy.
He's got really good form with big ass weights too.
Mm-hmm.
You got to appreciate that, because that just takes a lot of time.
Yeah, man.
I think if I'm thinking about like my own progression over the years, like as soon as I started to learn about nutrition, I started to get in better shape. And it wasn't that long. It wasn't that long after I learned about that I had abs. And it wasn't that long. I mean, I was like 205.
Mm-hmm.
And at a very young age, I was deadlifting, 600 pounds. I deadlifted 600 pounds competing at 198 in a meet a million years ago.
Yeah.
Because that's the last time I weighed that kind of weight. And so it's like, I believe that all kinds of things are possible. I I just think it's easy just to be like, oh yeah, that guy's, he's on stuff. But if I think back and I start to think about, well, what if from the beginning I was lined up pretty good? And what if I didn't have to figure it out on my own?
Mhm.
My brother squatted 675 at like 19
Whew.
in a single ply squat suit, weighing 220. So
Wow.
like there's some good strength, in our natural genes, even minus the stuff I decided to do later on. But it is really hard to tell, and I think people, um, there's no reason to try to use it for yourself to an advantage one way or the other. There's no reason for you to be like, he's probably on shit. If the guy is on stuff, he's still ahead. Whether he's not on stuff or on stuff, he's still way the fuck ahead of wherever you're trying to get to.
Yeah.
And you should hone in on your own skill and try to get better.
We have a guest coming this week. That's going to be very fun because this topic stuff.
Oh
are
yeah,
gonna come
KO.
Up. KO.
Kenny KO.
Kenny KO.
That'll be fun.
This will be fun.
Yeah. I remember I asked my dad, I'm like, hey, when you were younger, I was like, did you have abs? He's like, yeah. Like, how about all my uncles? Like, all of them. Like, cool. I've never had abs.
Oh man. Well, I mean, did you ask him about his lifestyle too? Like, I mean, your dad's lifestyle. Was he was he on his feet? Was he always sitting? What was the deal?
He thinks like donuts and Pepsi is like a good diet. I mean, growing up they didn't have much money, so it was just like beans and like that's pretty much it. So like maybe they're just on the skinny side, but for the most part, like he has no idea about nutrition, diet, or anything like that.
You could have abs in 3 months.
You really could.
Pretty good abs in 3 months. Like, I'm not just talking about like a little top 2 layer deal. That's not really abs. You can have pretty good abs in 3 months.
It's just like right now, dude, for you, it's just not your goal, right? You're trying to gain muscle and you're not trying to get super lean. But honestly, like if you wanted to get lean, literally, Mark would tell you what to do. You'd drop 20 pounds or whatever, and you'd have a 6-pack straight up. Like, but you don't want to be that light right now,
Yeah, and if you took your time too, you could lose like 8 pounds. You know what I mean? Like, and still hold a pretty good amount and have something there.
Yeah,
have some abs. But I mean, there are people that have gained so much weight and have gotten so far away that it might be hard for them to obtain abs. But I think with the exception of that, I think just about anyone. I mean, who would have thought my brother would be able to have abs? Yeah. I mean, his transformation is retarded. It doesn't make any sense at this point. You're just like, well, he continues to tighten up, and it's like sometimes just time, not just time. Obviously, he's paying attention to what he's doing very meticulously, but just time, because he mentioned, I think he posted the other day, he was the same weight, right? He posted today.
I think so.
He posted today. He's the same body weight as he was like a year ago.
He mentioned that to me a while back.
He's
I didn't
way
see a
leaner.
post, but
yeah, watch this. This is fucking wild. I mean, he looks great in the previous post, but he looks amazing now.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And let me ask you this: was Chris? Whoa.
Yeah. So for him on the left, I realized that's not like him on the left is not like a body that people are striving for, but him on the left is an amazing transformation already.
Yeah.
From where he was.
Yeah.
And he looks pretty good there. He's starting to get some good chest, pec development. Stomach's starting to tighten up.
Beard.
He's got a little bit of a belly, right?
Yeah.
And then in the second picture, obviously the abs have tightened up a lot. A lot of that skin has gone away. And look at the arms.
Yeah.
The development through the arms and the beard.
The beard is amazing. By the way, let me ask you this: didn't Chris always work out to some extent? Like, did he ever stop working out? Was there a period, or
he never stopped? He never stopped exercising. He's always, no matter how many pills or how much beer or anything like that he got into, he basically lifted his way through it the entire time. He's always had some form of exercise in there. But like, he's the ultimate case. Like, I used to talk to him all the time, and at the time I didn't really realize alcohol was such an issue for him. I knew that he would drink here and there, but I didn't really know the extent of it. And we would have conversations all the time. I was always thinking in my head, I'm like, why does he go through these cycles like this? Like, what is he doing? Like, why? He's telling me like, I'm going to the gym, tomorrow, and I'm going to do like an hour of cardio. And we would talk about training, and I'm like, dude, there's absolutely no reason for you to do an hour of cardio unless you have some specific goal in mind that you're trying to do something by a certain time. I'm like, otherwise, that hour could be spent doing something more productive, you know?
Yeah.
And so like I didn't really realize he was self-sabotaging himself with alcohol and poor food choices, and then he was trying to work it off, kind of like Nick Wright was talking about, but Nick was talking mainly about food. And my brother was kind of doing the same thing. He would do it over and over again. He was like a cardio bunny. He wanted to he wanted to do it. He wanted to lose weight through hard work and through, you know, he saw O'Hearn doing a lot of cardio. So he thought that that would be, you know, advantageous for him to do it. I'm like, dude, you just need to get your food straight. Like, let's be consistent with the food. We don't have to worry about this cardio as much.
Yeah. It's crazy though, like, because like last year, I don't know if he was carnivore last year too. He was heading into it, but that diet made a big difference for him.
Yeah.
Like he's talking about what he eats day to day now, and like I'm just curious what his day to day does look like outside of the food, because I know that there's other changes that he probably made that's allowed him to do all of this. It's
We
pretty
should have him back on the
crazy.
podcast to try to focus in on this kind of one topic
Mhm.
because it is awesome. And, you know, I'm with him all the time. He just is eating meat, you know, and he switches it up enough. I know some people say they get tired of it, but he's going to like McDonald's, he's going to Wendy's, he's hitting up In-N-Out Burger, he's cooking some stuff at home.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So like his cheat now, and we were just talking about cheats, is just getting more meat at, you know, McDonald's or something.
Right.
That
And-
McDonald's meat.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, he's like, I find it to be better than In-N-Out and Five Guys now. Yeah,
Really?
I know. I think it's just because it's just different, but
Okay, I can
but he says he likes it.
He
better.
and I went to McDonald's and we got like Big Mac, no bread, and it was rocking. It was really good. It was really good.
Yeah, and then I did check Snopes, and the 100% beef is apparently real.
Okay, can you tell me about that again?
So the urban legend or whatever was that the company that they used, that McDonald's uses, was called 100% beef. So they can say, oh, our meat is made with 100% beef.
Wow.
But I guess Snopes did a thing and find out that it it actually is 100% beef. But I don't understand about like the fillers and all that. So I don't know exactly still what's in it, but apparently
It's a cheat.
right? Yeah.
It's not McDonald's every day. It's a cheat.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right. As you can see, we can talk forever,
Can
but we should probably shut up.
Uh-huh.
Where can people find it, Andrew?
You guys can hit me up on Instagram at I am Andrew Z.
Ask about that Congo-ness.
That 1%, the new 1%ers.
We didn't really even explain what we were talking about.
That's okay. We'll
It's
leave
okay.
it to lore, and,
Imagination.
You know,
Yes.
Where can people find it, Mr. Natty Professor?
At Nsima Inyang. NSIMA INYANG on Instagram and YouTube's.
Can't believe your parents named you Natty Professor.
Me neither, man.
It's a weird name because, I mean, how'd they know? How'd they know it was going to cause so much controversy?
I think it was just one of those things. You know.
You can find me at Mark Smellybell on Instagram. Strength is never weakness, weakness never strength. Catch you all later.